The book that I chose was Behind the Veils of Yemen by Audra Grace Shelby. The book was written about her own life, and it was written to tell about her missionary work. She wanted to inform other Christians and give them hope and possibility.
The International Mission Board invited me and my husband Kevin to the candidates conference. As soon as we got to our hotel, Kevin was throwing up. We still drove to where our screening was. While we were waiting, Kevin went completely pale and could not respond. I rushed to get medical attention. We later found out that he had food poisoning and became dehydrated. I began to question whether I should even be doing this with her 3 kids, Madison, Jayden, and Jack. Instead of the quick recovery I was expecting, Kevin began to get worse.
Kevin's body started shutting down, he went into septic shock, and his organs were failing. The doctor told Audra that he's going to die.
I started praying desperately for Kevin, and I heard God say, "I have heard your prayer." I trusted in God that he would heal my husband shortly after. Kevin was discharged from the hospital, but his illness was left undiagnosed. At home, he felt tired and found a bump forming on his hip. He remembered that is where he got a steroid shot. The doctors later found out that the shot introduced an infection that was still in his body. It was a 1 in 10 million possibility that he would have gotten that infection. I decided that if God was able to heal my husband, I was able to go to Yemen.
A little bit of history about Yemen is Yemen became one country in 1990 and was unified after a civil war in 1994. Many people only marry inside their family, like their cousins, because it lets them know that their husband will be good. They only know the appearance of their spouse before they get married. The groom's father, and the bride's father go to the mosque for the wedding and make the marriage. Then they go get the bride and take her to the husband's house, so the bride doesn't even get to go to her own wedding.
When they pray, they use a prayer book and point it toward Mecca. They keep their bathroom doors closed because of jinns or spirits, and they are forbidden to talk in the bathroom. They wash their face, arms, and feet before prayer so they are clean. They believe Jesus was Isa of the Quran. He was a prophet who never sinned, healed the sick, and raised people from the dead, but he was lesser than Muhammad. Thursday is the end of their week, like our Saturdays. Friday is the Islamic day of worship.
Kevin studied Arabic 3 hours a day with Mohammed. Rose was their Ethiopian housekeeper. Audra's daughter Madison went to an English-speaking school, and Fatima was Audra's language teacher. The Tehima village, where Audra and her family lived, had an illiteracy rate of 98% among women. Women had to memorize the Quran by word of mouth. It is rude to talk about topics such as politics and wars, but they talk openly about their husbands' salaries and birth control.
I watched a little girl be beaten by her brother. When I went to intervene, I saw the parents watching and laughing. Because of their poor health care, many babies aren't born healthy. Despite your symptoms, doctors give everyone antibiotics and vitamins as treatment.
Audra wore a scarf over her hair and her head, a loose dress, and trousers out in public. Kevin wore ankle-length tunics, blue blazers, and a red or black prayer shawl. And the Yemeni people wore a similar dress, and they were also forbidden to show the bottom of their feet. Audra started to question her beliefs when she wondered if she was born in Yemen, if she would believe in Mohammed.
I read the Quran and have prayer times 5 times a day. I wear a black polo cloak in public places, and I never uncover my hair around anyone who isn't my husband, father, or brother. I don't veil my face. As a result, northern women considered me less pious and less devout. I will not talk about Jesus with Edra even though she often wants to. I also joined my friends in deriding Christianity. However, everything changed when I had my baby boy, Kassan. He was born very sick, and I asked Edra to pray for him. When Casa began to get better, I told Edra that her book is good.
As Audra began praying for Fatima's baby, she remembered how strong she was in her own faith. Fatima told Audra that her book is good and she wouldn't accept Jesus. So Audra read her John 14:6. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Audra saw that Fatima's views were changing and she was reaffirmed about why she came to Yemen. Because of the rising price of gas and flour, there was a riot in Tahrir Square. Windows were smashed, cars were dented, and they often took foreigners hostage. As a result, military swarmed the city with machine guns and roamed every street. Soon after, there was a U.S. military ship bombed by Islamic terrorists. Audra questioned again if this trip was worth risking her family's lives. Audra and Kevin thought that Madison choked at dinner, but she actually had a seizure. Audra asked God for her not to die. Audra took Madison to the only neurologist in Yemen, who was Iraqi. Their EEG machine was outdated, so they couldn't tell if there was a lesion on her brain. Audra put all her trust in God. It turns out Madison had a benign Rolandic epilepsy of childhood. She was prescribed anti-seizure medicine and would outgrow the condition. When Audra found out this good news, she knew it was right for her and was reaffirmed of her decision to come to Yemen.
I returned to the United States when I became pregnant with my fourth child at 42 years old. However, after the birth, I knew I had to return to Yemen. I saw how I was changing the lives of so many people. I returned to live in Yemen.
The first review I found was by Joy Lowen. Lowen states that Audra Shelby efficiently allows readers to picture the story through her graphic descriptions of sights and sounds in Yemen. She comments on how Shelby is enthusiastic about learning the ways of the women. She describes Shelby's interest in Yemeni culture with words like desire and compassion. This is exactly what Shelby was trying to do by reading the book and sharing her experience. The other review I found was on Amazon, and it was by K.A. Walden. And he commented that it seemed like Shelby was arrogant about her spirituality at times. For example, she said, I wonder if the high from the Hajj would last a lifetime. And he also said the book left him wondering what happened when she returned to Yemen, and he also commented that it's probably nothing.